All right, for the second part of segment 1, we're going to cover terrain and movement. Remember, this is a tactical war game, but gee, I can play Theater of the Mind. That is true, but for our purposes, we're treating it as the tactical war game that it is, and when it does talk about Theater of the Mind, we will bring that stuff up, but we need to figure out how you move across the map and what terrain does to things like line of sight and your movement rate. So let's take a look at that as soon as I get it up on the screen. Let's do that first, and boom, we can look at that now. All right, I think we're on page like 57. So that's like 61 in my barriers. Nope. Cover. Nope. There we go. Terrain and hexes. Where's my thingy at the bottom? Slide over. So we already talked about, let me make sure. Yeah. Did we cover this? No, we did not. That was our actions. That's right, because I skipped to social conflict. That's right. All right, terrain and hexes. A battle map is divided into hexagons, or hexes for short. The hex is the main unit of distance in combat. A hex is 10 meters across. If the combat is played without a map, it's the referee's job to determine the distances between the fighters involved. More work for the referee. Each hex has a terrain type that affects visibility, range attacks, movement, cover, and infiltration. And we'll see this down here, and we'll get to this in a little bit, but you can see that each terrain type, and I can slide over and show you more, but we'll do that in a minute. The terrain types below summarize the effects. The dominating terrain in a hex on a battle map applies to the entire hex. When in doubt, the terrain under the center dot determines the terrain type for the hex. It's a very big battle tech.
I like that because that allows you to use a real world map, throw a hex grid on top, and then look at the center of the hex and say, what's there? It's a tree. Trees everywhere. What's there? It's a hill. Hills everywhere. What's there? Water. Water everywhere. Don't have to worry about it.
I think that's a common wargaming rule. I don't know. I know because I'm not a big wargamer, but that's definitely a rule, and BattleTech has the same thing. So visibility, the maximum visibility range in 10-meter hexes. So if we come down here in a pavement hex, visibility is infinite. So you can see all across the flat Earth until you hit the horizon. For more details, all
across the hex, right?
No, it means no, not just the hex. There's nothing blocking. So let's go over here. If we go over here to foliage, foliage visibility is maximum of 3 hexes. Or forest, sorry, forest is, and foliage is 1 hex. But foliage doesn't mean flowers in this case. Foliage means things like jungle and hedgerow.
I understand, but that's not what I was saying. But it could answer it later on. So I'll wait. I'll wait for my question.
Yeah, your question confuses me then. We'll see if it gets answered. All right, ranged attacks. The modifier to all ranged attacks against targets in a hex with this terrain, unless the shooter is in the same hex. This modifier does not apply to area attacks made with heavy weapons against the hex itself. Doesn't take much to target a 10-meter area. No. Targeting a person within that 10-meter area who is trying to duck and cover and serpentine and not get hit by freedom seeds. Well, that's a little bit harder to hit. That's why Jesse made a parking lot when he cleared off his little area in Predator, because he didn't know what the hell he was aiming at. Anyway, movement. The modifier to mobility or driving rolls made to move additional hexes during movement action. Obviously, if you're trying to drive through some sort of rubble, that is not going to be easy. Now, I hope that track vehicles have an easier time than wheeled vehicles, but we are not going to find out about that for a few weeks. No. Cover indicates whether it's possible to seek solid cover inside a hex of this terrain type, and if yes, the typical armor level of such cover.
Like forest would be a tree, rubble would be concrete or rock, stuff like. I get it.
Infiltration, the modifier to recon rolls made to stay hidden or set up an ambush in a hex of this terrain type. It's probably easier to set up an ambush in rubble or foliage than it is, I don't know, on a flight line. So, note that the modifier is applied to the individual trying to stay hidden. Yeah.
Okay.
Elevation. Elevated terrain is marked by contoured lines or shades. We'll look at that in a little bit. elevated terrain can block line of sight, and moving from lower to higher ground reduces movement speed. In addition, ranged attacks from higher positions gain a +1 modifier. You want the high ground. It's an advantage. But getting there slows you down. Blocking. A hex of blocking terrain is filled with terrain taller than a human, fully blocking visibility and movement. A hex of blocking terrain cannot be entered by ground movement. Think of a wall, cliff.
Yeah. Well, a wall or some kind of spike row thing of the giant, tree trunk spikes or whatever. We're not talking about normal trees because there's space in between trees, so it's not fully blocking. This is fully blocking. This is almost purposeful. I mean, it can be natural. A rock slide obviously would be a natural thing, but parapet, walls, stuff like that, those are all blocking, but forest and foliage, not, because it's not completely that dense.
So here are the modifiers. I'm not going to go through each one, but it shows where you can get cover, where you can't get cover. Obviously, what was it? This stuff make Cambodia look like Kansas if you're trying to walk through foliage. There's no visibility. It's hard to move through there. -3 to your mobility rolls. But now, can you walk through it? Yes. It's when you're trying to go extra hexes that you make the roll to see if you can go further. And so foliage is a pain in the butt, but it also keeps you protected.
Okay, hang on. Now it didn't answer my question. So go back up to the hex modifiers. They're right there. Now you said pavement visibility is infinite.
Yes.
Okay. So I can see if I'm in a hex adjacent to pavement and I'm also in pavement, I can see fully through my hex and fully through the other pavement hex next to me, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But let's say that I'm in a pavement hex, there's a pavement hex in front of me, and there's a forest hex after that, and a foliage hex after that. I am in a pavement, I can see fully through mine. The one adjacent to me is pavement. I can see fully through that. And then there's forest. That is my third hex. Does that count? As I can see through that forest, but the foliage behind, can I see through that?
You can see into it, not through it.
Into it, not through it. Okay. All right. So if I go pavement, forest, that's 1, 2, 3 hexes, but I had infinite visibility up until that forest. Now it's down by 3. I've already seen through 3 hexes, including my own.
No, you're looking at this. I don't even fully understand how you're looking at this. Don't even worry about the infinite. Infinite means nothing's blocking your line of sight. That means as big as the map board is, you can see if you're standing on here, let's use the flight line example or a highway example. I can stand here, and no matter how big that map board is, I can see to the end of it. If I'm looking down this path and it's just all pavement, or it's all field. It's like, you're walking through a nice flat savanna over there. You can see the lions that are 200 meters that way, and hopefully they stay there, right? But now you get forest in the way. If it's just one hex of forest, you can see through it. Now you're going to have a -1 to your rolls, but you can generally see through it because it's not. How do I say it? It's not so dense that oh my god, all of a sudden it's not the black forest. It just blocked your line of sight immediately. You can see a ways into it. And remember, these hexes are only 10 meters.
Okay, hang on one second. I want to understand this because I've almost never played a tactical war game with maps. So I need to understand this. So here's what I'm saying. I'm not going to draw a hex because I can't do that freehand. Here I am, right? I'm right here. This is pavement. I'm right here. I am right in the center. Let's zoom in. Oh, shit. There we go. And then right here next to me is another pavement hex.
Yep.
Right here is foliage.
Yep. Oh, you had foliage first this time? Okay.
Yeah, and right here is tree forest.
Okay.
All right. So here I can see through this entirety because it's off pavement. There's no minuses.
Yep.
There's no limit. And again, I can see through all this. There's no limit.
Yep.
But here is a limit of 3 hexes.
No,
Now,
foliage is 1.
oh, it is?
Yeah, you went backward in this example that you're showing right now.
Sorry. All right. Sorry about that. So the trees here
Mm-hmm.
and the foliage here. So this is 3.
Yep.
I can see through this. That's 3. But does this count for my total view?
No.
Or does it start now?
It starts now, and it only counts with his number with the number of forest hexes there are. So until there are 3 forest hexes, you can see. You're just going to suffer a penalty for each one.
Okay, and this one is 1.
Mm-hmm. So you can see through that
I can
one.
see through this, but that's it because that's 1.
Right.
Okay,
now,
so that's where it stops.
But put a forest behind it, or a plant. I don't care. Put anything behind it. Just not another foliage.
Pavement.
You can see into that hex.
Really?
It's just you are going to suffer. What is it? Looks like minus range attacks, -2 for the foliage, -1 for the forest. You're going to be suffering -3 to your attack.
See, I'm just talking about visibility, and from what I understand from the rules, I should not be able to see this thing at all.
Why? You can see through 1 full foliage, and you can see through 3 forest.
That's see, that's not how I'm seeing it. That's not how I understand it. The way it was described to me.
Do you think that the foliage counts as 3 forests? Is that how you're looking at it? Like I'm trying to figure out how you're seeing this, because you can see through 1 foliage. Yes. I mean, I'll read the rule. I'll make sure that the rule says through, and not that it stops there. Maximum visibility range in 10-meter hexes. Okay. So yes, I read that in like every war game that I play. Okay, to be fair, BattleTech and Heavy Gear, as you can see through 1 hex. So I can see whatever's behind it. If there are 2 foliages in a row, I would be stuck, and I can only see through the first one, and I could see, and I could blindly fire into the second one. The way BattleTech works is this would intervening terrain. It literally use the intervening terrain. So this one I would be able to see through. This one would still give me a penalty though, but I could see whatever's in it, not past it.
Yeah, I'm just talking about visibility here. I'm not talking about minuses for range attacks. That's off the table for what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And I
it's
still
line of sight. It means effectively means make an attack.
I still don't get it. Okay, visibility. This is total hexes. Right?
No. Infinite. So infinite means. How it says infinite just means don't worry about it. Your sight's not blocked at all.
I'm not worried about it. Right.
Don't even count. Forest means that in your line of sight that you are doing. Go back to your drawing. Let's do this another way. Okay. I think I have a way that we can do this. What I want you to do is you can either erase that or we can relabel some of those. Is do your 2 what do you call pavements first. Then do a forest. And we're only going to do forest. We're not going to do foliage, just for the purposes of. Then I want you to do a field, so plain. You just call it pavement for now, because since we know what's going on. Do another forest. Do another pavement. They're getting wider and wider. And then do 1 more forest.
I'm trying to make you stop.
No, there's a reason why I'm doing all this. And then
I am right here.
Yeah, so now you can do 1 square. I don't care what you call it, 1 square past that for the last forest. Pick whatever you want. Or you can't. Fine. It doesn't matter.
Good.
You can see through those 3 forests. You can see all the way to the square past that final F.
That doesn't seem realistic in any way possible. I
think you're thinking of forests as crazy dense things that.
No. I'm thinking of a forest as like in this instance, I'm thinking of it as like a more heavily wooded part of a park.
If you look, go ahead and look
between 10 and 20 feet between trees, but you're seeing through, 10 meters of it, which is what, 22 feet.
30 feet. 33 feet.
30, whatever, 33 feet.
Yeah.
I only do freedom units, all of you metric folk. And I don't see that possible, seeing through this, and into this. I don't see that as being anything at all as realistic as even for a game.
Take that off the screen and we'll show mine again. You notice these trees aren't on top of each other. There's space between them.
True.
It gives you a negative. You do have a negative you get a positive to infiltration. So somebody trying to hide gets a bonus. You can see through those 3. It's going to be a little more difficult because whoever's trying to hide is going to get a bonus. You trying to shoot through them, and this I know you keep
stop talking about anything but visibility.
Line of sight, you have to talk about it.
No, I'm just talking about visibility.
This is what line of sight is for.
I'm not trying to shoot anyone, and no one is trying to hide.
But this is the part that matters.
No,
what you will have is you are able to see through it, but you are going to get a penalty for it. Either somebody is hiding, or it is affecting your ability to aim.
I'm not going to shoot anyone.
The thought you got binoculars. It's still, you're getting line of sight. It's a war game. You're getting line of sight. That's what these modifiers are for, is getting line of sight.
Okay. Visibility. Forest is 3. Now, is that you can only see a maximum of 3 beyond this, or 3 total?
So go back to your drawing. Go back to your drawing.
Okay.
You can see through 3 into the next square, hex, whatever. So if the next hex is foliage, you can see into it, not through it.
Okay, this is what I'm saying. Here we go. Does my hex count as seeing through it as part of it?
You're in pavement. It's infinite.
I'm asking if it counts. If I were in forest, would it count?
Let's actually see what it says. I don't think so, but let's see what it says. For more details on line of sight, see page 59. Elevation, movement, ranged attacks. So ranged attacks targets in a hex with this terrain, so that would count. Movement, cover. That's just possible seek and cover. Stay hidden within ambush in a hex of this terrain type. Elevation. It is not saying directly most war games. That again, I'm very limited on the war game side myself, but again, BattleTech heavy gear. If you were in the hex behind it, you could still be shot. You could still be seen. Wouldn't be able to be shot if you couldn't be able to be seen. So whatever it is that you're in would still add a modifier, but you could still be seen because according to this, you can see through 3. Doesn't stop at 3. You see through 3.
Okay. If you add again, This is the problem. I do not know the actual definition of visibility in this scenario. Forest visibility is 3. In foliage or whatever that is, it's visibility 1. Now, is that you can see 3 or 1 beyond it, or 3 or 1 total if this is included?
Total.
Okay, so if my hex is included, that's 1 hex, no modifier.
No, your hex. Yeah, okay. Your hex doesn't count.
Okay. Sorry. 1 hex, no modifier.
Oh, I see how you're doing it. Okay.
Forest, 3 total. 1, 2.
No. It means you can see through 3 forested hexes.
But I don't have all forests in a row.
You don't need to have them in a row. It's just 3 for your purposes of line of sight. 3 forested hexes you can see through. That is it. Then you're done. So that's why I spaced them apart intentionally, was to show you that. That
doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I'm going to stop now, but it doesn't make sense at all.
So how about this? Because obviously I'm not explaining it well. Folks that watch this video later,
try and explain it to me, please. Because I don't get it.
And if anybody who's watching right now thinks that I'm doing this wrong, again, I'm basing a lot of this on, because to be fair, it just says maximum visibility range in 10-meter hexes. Every game I'm used to means if it says 3, you can see through 3. The next one, unless it's infinite, will block it. So the next one, let's say it's foliage because it's the toughest one, I can see into it, but I can't see through it. That finally blocks my line of sight. Or if there's a 4th one of these, I'd be able to see into it, but I wouldn't be able to see past it.
No. Let's move on.
All right. We did blocking. Now, foot movement. In a single fast action, you can run 2 hexes without rolling dice. To move further, you need to make a mobility roll, modify the terrain type of the hex you are in. So that's important, the type of hex you are in. For each success you roll, you can move an additional hex. If you fail, you can move no further. So let's go up here. Let's use the forest that we were talking about before. So you would make a mobility roll with -1. And if you make the roll, you can move forward another hex. So you can go from 1 to 2 to 3. Visibility 0 means you can only see. Yes, I don't think we were talking about visibility 0, but that would be for indoor. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, does that clarify it for you? Actually, let's go back up.
No, I was only talking about visibility. You're bringing up all this other crap. I was just talking about visibility.
So visibility in a war game is line of sight. That's literally what it is.
I want to move on. I want to move on, man.
Well, Ron, made a comment up there that I thought might be worth the clarification. So,
no, it doesn't clarify anything.
So stance. In order to run, you must be standing up. Going from prone position to standing is a fast action. Dropping to the ground is a free action, but can only be done on your own turn. It's a reiteration of rules we read before. Mm-hmm. Use your character token to indicate your stance. One side shows standing, the other prone. Oh, I didn't do that last video. If I'm reminded, I'll grab the tokens and you can see them real quickly. But they're just little pogs. That's the term, with dudes on them. So, and I think that's it for this page. Okay, up here. Crawling. If you are prone, you can't run. You cannot run while you're on your hands and knees. Instead, you must crawl. Crawling works exactly like running. Now, somebody's going to be like, no, it doesn't. You shut up. It's for the purposes of game rules. Crawling and running are the same for the purposes of game rules, but you move only 1 hex per fast action instead of 2, which I would dare say is somebody who's had to do low crawling. Holy balls, that's still fast.
Yeah, I don't see 10 meters in a single turn. No, man, I don't know.
We're in basic doing that stuff with the barbed wire around us and
bullshit.
so forth.
That
asshole in front of me stopped and I almost killed him. I was like, "Fuck you, get moving."
No, we've all done that. If you're in the military, you've done that stupid crawl underneath barbed wire or bars or whatever it was, and moving 10 meters
as a fast action.
You can suck it. That's not how it works. That is not right.
I don't honestly, I don't agree with that either, but it's for game purposes, so we're going to move on. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But you can move 1 hex per fast action instead of 2, and the mobility roll can only increase the movement by 1 hex, no matter how many successes you roll. 20 meters in 5 to 10 seconds.
Shut up. No, shut up. 10 meters in 5 to 10 seconds. I mean, 5, never. 10, pushing it. 20, shut up.
So here's what I would say to this. They're definitely not doing the standard low crawl, high crawl. They might be doing like the civilian crawl or whatever you call it, where you're more like ducked down than anything else. But if you're doing a pure low crawl where your cheek is on the ground and you're dragging yourself, or the high crawl where you can at least look forward a little bit, you're not moving 20 meters in 10 seconds. So
now if it's just hands, like on your hands and feet and kind of crawling like that, I can see that. But if you're trying to give yourself cover or anything like that, then no, man, you're not doing that.
I remember we called that the civilian crawl, and if you did that, you got to go back and start again.
Yeah, start again until you did it right to where you wouldn't die.
To be fair, if you did that, you were probably hitting barbed wire anyway. But
yeah, well, for a lot of the Air Force, it was a bar. You hit the bar.
Oh, we had barbed wire in mine.
We didn't have barbed wire. We had bars. But I've seen a couple of people hit the bars with their head. They were not happy because they were trying to move as fast as possible. And you can move faster on hands and knees than you can with an actual crawl. So they bang themselves pretty good.
Yeah, the guy in front of me was slow as shit, and then he stopped. And when you're like half to 2/3 way through that thing, and somebody stopped, you're like at about 50 meters. I know, and he stops. You're like, I'm going to stab you with something because we didn't have weapons on us. But I'm going to find something. I'm going to stab you if you don't get your ass going. Anyway, where are we here? A backpack. Carrying a backpack gives you a -2 modifier to mobility rolls. Remember, you've got stuff in your backpack. It's not easy to roll. It's going to slow you down. This is kind of how they consider encumbrance. So it might be a good idea to drop your pack before going into combat. Yes.
Or stop making fun of the guy with the fanny pack. Sure, it won't hold as much, but you don't get a -2 to your mobility rolls. Thinking.
Put everything on your web gear. Elevation. Moving into a hex of higher terrain counts as moving 2 hexes instead of 1. It's harder to go up than it is to go. You cannot move half a hex, so any unused movement is forfeited. This means you must roll mobility to crawl up a hill. Swamps and shallows. Running into a hex of swamps or shallows counts as crawling. Actual crawling is not possible.
Because you'll be dead because you can't breathe.
What if I have a reed snorkel? Vehicle movement is impossible except for amphibious vehicles, and we will talk about vehicles in a few weeks. Close combat. If you have an active and aware enemy, notice it's active and aware, so he's awake and knows you're there. In the same hex, you can't simply move away from him. Instead, you must retreat. And we'll get to that apparently on page 63. It's if it's like Forbidden Lands, so it'll be a mobility roll to get away. Vehicles. Movement for vehicles is explained on page 81. Again, we will do that in a couple weeks. Cover. You know how I feel about cover and concealment rules in games, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. This game tries. Okay.
Kind of like Kevin Simbita tried fixing the shifter.
When the bullets start flying, you'll want to drop prone, or even better, seek solid cover. In a hex with a terrain type that can provide cover, you can spend a fast action to seek cover. Basically, you're like, oh crap, that's a wall, let's get behind it. You must choose if you want full cover, blocking line of sight and protecting your entire body, or partial cover, exposing your head and arms, allowing you to fire across the cover. It's probably a good idea to get full cover first and then figure out what to do after that.
Because we've already gone through the rules that you can pop out, shoot, and pop back in and be fine. So I'd want to do that, right? It sounds great.
Going from full cover to partial cover is a fast action. Again, we've covered that before, but this is a war game. It has to reiterate the stuff a couple of times. Going from partial cover to full cover is a free action, but can only be done at your turn. This means you can pop up from full cover, fire a quick shot, and duck back down to full cover again on a single turn. Now, I should have remembered that this was here because I do remember reading this and told Heathen, like, hey, we'll wait till we get to that spot. But I forgot where it was in the book, and there we go. But everything is that nice and concise right there. Your fire won't be very accurate, though, and you can still be targeted by Overwatch fire, because that is the point of Overwatch fire. Direction of cover. This is I'll have to show you in the example. Your cover from terrain will only be effective in a specific direction. If you have a wall in front of you, guess what people behind you can still do? That's what it's trying to say. However, it's going to start to confuse you now. Just toward just one adjacent hex and then extending outward at a 120-degree angle. See the diagram on the next page, which we will do. To indicate this, place a cover token in the adjacent hex in the direction of your cover. If the adjacent hex is occupied, you can still place the cover token straddling the hex border. Barriers. You can also seek cover by a low barrier if it passes through your hex. Cover from a barrier is effective against anyone on the other side of a barrier. So if there is actually a stone wall right here, you both can be in the same hex, and I'm on this side of the wall, you're on that side of the wall. Hey, Heathen Dog, how you doing, man? Don't shoot me. Answer me because I want to know your position. Same hex. Your cover has no effect against range attacks from an enemy in the same hex as you, unless you're on opposite sides of a barrier crossing the hex.
Makes sense.
So let's look at this example. By the way, I am not an expert at Twilight 2000. So if I mix up Battletech rules with Twilight 2000, deal with it. Okay. So this is the dude in the trees, right? And this is his little cover token. Why does it have a flag like that on there? Well, let me show you. Because when you go to cover, it's right there. When you go to cover, you have full cover or partial cover. Full cover is the filled in flag. Partial cover is the hollow flag. So the barrier is right here where this hex line is, right? But then it covers 120 degrees. So that would be fire from there to there. So the middle of this hex line, the middle of this hex, and so on. Here, this hex line, the middle of this hex line, and so on. I have not read yet, or if I did, I missed it, what it means if you're a character right here. Does it mean you have partial cover, or does it mean you have no cover? I don't know. Hopefully we read about it here. If not, well, hopefully we get to it in the future when you're straddling that line of being in this hex. If somebody wants to put in chat, if you know the answer, go ahead. But so he has cover from 01.
Mm-hmm.
Well, partial cover from 01, because not only is he within, like, so he'd have cover here. Hopefully you guys can see my mouse moving. So it's one hex adjacent from 01. He'd also have cover here. He would not have cover here, because again, we're drawing the line out along that line there. Does he have cover
for goes from center to center?
No, it says for this one, start 120 degrees starting at the hex line. Direction of cover.
Right there.
Cover from drain only factor just okay. Toward just one adjacent hex and then extending outward at a 120 degree angle. See the diagram on the next page. To indicate this, place the cover token in the adjacent hex in the direction of your cover. So it's just, again, this is only experience telling me this because it's not necessarily clear there. It's the 100. You start here, you start at the edge of the hex. Your location is considered the center of the hex. The hex's terrain of this being forest is what's in the center of the hex. So let's use this one, which we can see, right? This would be a forested hex because it's got 4 trees in it, but the tree isn't on the center dot. Doesn't matter. It's got 4 trees in it. This is forest. This would be a foliage hex. In BattleTech, we call this heavy woods and light woods. This guy right here is in heavy. I'm sorry, he's in foliage. You can lift up the piece to see, but you can just tell by the outside. So he's in foliage, laying down prone, shooting this direction. This guy does not have cover from 02. Mm-hmm. Because the cover only extends out to this area here. If this guy was in this hex, I don't know. Hopefully
the cover extends to the center, so it would apply to the whole hex according to the rules we've read so far.
Okay, and I would agree with that. Honestly, I would agree with that. But I know, just based on my experience of some war games, they have weird rules on that. If there's no other indication, I will agree with Heathen Dog. Because the center of the hex is what determines everything, and this literally goes to the center of the hex. Okay? So anyway, hopefully you get the idea.
I get that,
Partial cover from here, and nobody's saying anything in chat, so either I've confused him or they all went away. And no cover in this direction. All right, let's read on. Oh, okay, let's see what it says. The blue fighter is partial cover in a forest hex. The cover is effective against fighter 01, but not against red fighter 02. Okay, I did a longer explanation. This one just says what the deal is.
Yeah,
no hexes. If you're playing on a map, this goes to the theater of the mind thing. If you are playing without a map or a map without hexes, the referee has the final word. This is the one I was looking for where I said Heathen Dog would like this. The referee has the final word on whether cover is effective or not.
Sure, makes sense.
Don't argue with him. We went away confused to come back confused. Sorry. All right, let's talk about barriers. Barriers are another important terrain feature. The term encompasses any linear solid object that includes indoor and outdoor walls, as well as sandbags and coils of barbed wire. Barriers can be high, blocking visibility completely, or low, blocking visibility only to prone fighters. A barrier can also provide cover against attacks from the other side of it. So right now I have a quibble, but I know the quibble is going to be answered later. Divided hexes. Barriers often cut through hexes.
Ooh, here we go.
In a hex divided by a barrier, you need to define which side of the barrier you are on and place your token accordingly. You cannot strike an enemy on the other side of the barrier in close combat, even if you're in the same hex. This goes even for a low barrier.
Okay, that didn't answer the whole cover question, but okay. That makes sense.
Crossing barriers. As a general rule, a low barrier can be jumped over with a mobility roll. Note that this action does not move you out of the hex unless the barrier happens to follow the hex border exactly. Is there a map of this somewhere? No. Let's use this up here. Okay. Hopefully you can see my mouse. We're going to say that this hex right here has a barrier. Okay. You are on this side.
Sure.
I am on this side.
Sure.
For me to hop over this barrier, I need to make a mobility roll. Now we're both on the same side and we can fight each other.
Sure.
I have not moved.
Fast action to get over that barrier. So now all you have left is a slow action,
which still allows me to punch.
Yeah, or shoot, or whatever.
Yeah. See, climbing over a high barrier also requires a mobility roll, but it is a slow action. Some high barriers can't be crossed, such as an indoor wall. Again, rules like that make me laugh, but I know why they're in the game.
Well,
barbed wire.
I would also say that a high barrier with razor wire or barbed wire on top can also not be crossed, even with a slow action. You'd have to take more than one turn to do that.
We're going to actually talk about barbed wire and concertina wire in this chapter.
Cool.
So barbed wire is next. This is why I had a quibble above, but I knew it was going to be clarified here. Barbed wire is a type of barrier that does not block visibility.
Fair.
But crossing it requires a mobility roll. That's why my quibble up here was when I first read this, I was like, wait a second, there's no cover from barbed wire. It's just wire. Luckily, I'd read this chapter. So failure so it requires a mobility roll. If you fail your mobility roll, it inflicts 1 point of damage. Military grade concertina wire obstacles gives a -2 modifier to crossing. And anybody who's ever had to put out concertina wire goes, yep. And a failed roll automatically results in a critical injury to the legs. Now, I think that might be a bit excessive because I did get stuck in concertina wire one time and I did not suffer a critical injury. But my guess for this is that we were in a controlled environment, and this is if you're hastily just trying to get over it.
Yeah. If you're scrambling to get beyond concertina wire and you fall into it or you slip into it while you're scrambling, you're probably going to bleed out.
That stuff will slice you up. Luckily, I was wearing literally 3 pairs of pants at that point. I had my BDUs on. Underneath it, I had 2 layers because it was cold as hell outside. And it sliced through everything and cut me. Not critically, but yeah. And you had to wear these nice special gloves in order to put the crap out there. Doorways. A wall with a door or open doorway still counts as a barrier. Moving through an unlocked door or doorway to the other side of a barrier is a fast action. So as long as it's open or the door is just shut and you can open it up, you can move through, but it requires no roll. So it's an action or a fast action, but you don't have to roll to do it because the door is open. Hopefully you can open a door. And then it gives armor levels here, and we'll talk about armor levels. Is it probably next week or the week after? Visibility and line of sight. Adverse weather conditions. Wait, what are we talking about? Okay, yes. Adverse weather conditions, dim light, and darkness can reduce visibility. The table on the next page indicates the maximum visibility in hexes. If several factors apply, use the lowest applicable visibility limit. Okay, so let's just go down there. Oh, no, you know what? No, because night vision is important. Weather and darkness also give a negative modifier to ranged combat and recon when scouting. These modifiers are cumulative. Light sources. Visibility limits for darkness do not apply if the target emits any light, including a lit cigarette. Discharging a fire. And they used to tell us this crap all the time. This is back when you're allowed to smoke in the military. Like, if you're sitting in the foxhole, or if you're in a DFP, defensive fighting position, don't light a cigarette. You've just told everybody where you are. It's just a little cherry. You've just told everybody where you are.
Yeah. In especially in pitch darkness, it's the only light there. It's going to seem much brighter than it is.
Oh, dude, and if you're wearing nods, like, found them. I can't even imagine thermal because I never got to do thermal, but nods, dude. Yeah. Discharging a firearm will cause you to lose the effects of being in darkness until your next turn. Night vision goggles negate the effects of darkness up to a certain distance, which you'll find out about page 129, probably when we talk about gear in a few weeks. Thermal optics are even more effective, fully negating the effects of smoke, rain, and fog. Searchlights. Powerful searchlights will light up an area of battlefield and remove the effects of darkness. A typical searchlight has a range of 10 hexes, but only in a specific direction. That's why it's a searchlight. All targets within the illuminated area can be seen at any distance, barring terrain and weather. Flares, illumination rounds. I'm sure we've all seen that in the movies where they shoot up in the air and it just lights up about. Dude, I saw that for some test firing stuff. I thought it was all movie magic. No, that crap works. It is insane, and it stays up there for. I mean, you can see it falling, but it stays up there for like really. Fireworks don't last that long.
The ones I saw that were Vietnam and World War II era, they had parachutes. It was like a flare in a parachute.
Yeah, this was too high for me to see if it had a parachute, but it seemed like with as slow as it was coming down, that's my guess. So illumination rounds fired by grenade launchers, mortars, and howitzers also light up a battlefield. And when they say I'm telling you, dude, it was the freaking sun.
It's daytime. Yeah.
Yes. All targets within the illuminated area can be seen at any distance, barring terrain and weather. And do I want to get into that? Okay, this is just a searchlight. Okay, this is a searchlight. This all it's showing is that, hey, a searchlight only shows in one direction, but also has elevation concerns. So if you actually have a blocked terrain, the searchlight no longer can see in that area. I don't want to say this is pedantic because the rule makes sense, but it is something you're going to have to think about at the table. This is the type of stuff that slows down a war game when compared to a theater of the mind game. But remember, you are playing a war game. This is necessary. Unless you're doing the theater of the mind route, then the referee is going to have to maintain all of this information in his head. Just understand that this is a searchlight.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at what our penalties are. So if you're in heavy rain, you can see maximum of 20 hexes. So 200 meters. And you're going to be a -1 die. What?
The visibility rules in this game are ridiculous.
Why?
200 meters in heavy rain? Shut up.
Shut up. Absolutely. Yes, you can.
No.
Yes, you can. I've done exercises in heavy rain. You can.
No.
I have more of a disagreement with the -1.
Range combat, that's ridiculous as well because you wouldn't be able to see him, let alone hit him. But no. Dense fog
is
100 meters in dense fog. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that one's a little weird. That one. Well, at least the dense fog that we had in Germany, you couldn't see 100 meters. But Nerds Nerd, if you're still in, what are your thoughts on 200 meters in heavy
rain? No,
because she's actually. I've only done exercises. She's actually done real stuff. Dusk, 200 meters. Remember, dusk is not nighttime.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I'm not. I don't have a huge problem with that. No.
Moonlight, 150 meters. That's very dependent.
Moon, sure.
It's dependent. Starlight, 100 meters.
No, that just means there's no moon. No. Have you been outside with no lights on and no moon, just stars?
Yes.
100 meters.
Have you done that outside a city? It's not easy. You absolutely can see 100 meters.
Dark. You're not seeing 100 meters with any kind of is that a rabbit or is it a giant? You don't know.
No. But see, you're conflating to a couple of things here. If you're going that route, I agree with you. That's why you have the -2.
Ugh.
But you can, even with my Hubble telescopes, you can see we range stuff in our DFPs. We had range cards, and I could absolutely see the people. Now I couldn't tell which person it was at all, but when they were moving around, I could see the people in the DFP 100 meters over at nighttime. Oh.
When they were moving.
When they were moving, yes. Well, otherwise it's just a DFP. I mean, you can't see any, like you're basically inside a big sandbag container. So, and Cloudy Night 5. Now this one I found weird because you have dense fog 100 and cloudy. The dense fog is the one I don't agree with because maybe
a cloudy night is fog above you, not in front of you.
Yeah,
it should be worse. Dense fog should be much worse. Because you're in it instead of underneath it.
See, I would say
visibility in this game is just stupid.
I would put dense fog under cloudy night and then put this as light fog. Again, the fog we had in Germany, there were times I was not seeing 100 meters.
Oh no, I've been in fog that where 10 feet in front of me the world ends. There's no world there. It's just all cloud. And you're saying, and that's what I would call dense fog. And it only worked for 10 feet. So I don't know what this game is smoking about visibility, but it's
now remember, it did say before, if you're combining things, so let's say it's heavy rain on a cloudy night. Well, there you go. That's the max visibility. And I'll look back just to see if it says it up there, but I'm pretty sure you combine the modifiers. So it'd be a -3. So heavy rain at cloudy night would be a -3 to your ranged combat and recon rolls. And you could only see out to 5 hexes. Let's verify that with just a sec. Was it here? Oh, the referee can adjust visibility limits further. Weather, darkness also give negative modifiers. These modifiers are cumulative. Yeah, there it is. The modifiers are cumulative. Again, with the exception of fog, this does make sense to me as somebody who sat out in the shit before. No. Smoke. Dense smoke can be created by smoke grenades, smoke launchers, and intense natural fires. Use a smoke token to mark smoke on the map. A single hex filled by smoke blocks visibility completely, both out of and into the hex. Smoke from a smoke launcher or grenade will dissipate over time. Roll a d6 base die at the start of each round for each smoke marker on the battle map. On a result of exploding, so 1, remove it. Thermal optics can see through smoke. Is there wind? Can I blow the smoke with wind? I love the Battletech rules for that. Line of sight. And this is everything in a war game. Without this, got nothing. To be able to see and fire at something, you need line of sight. Draw a line between the center dot of your hex and the center dot of the target hex. If the line passes through any of the below, your line of sight is blocked. I'm pretty sure that if you draw a line through below, you're not playing this game, but it's blocked as well. A high barrier. Sure. A hex with blocking terrain.
Sure. A
hex at a higher elevation than both you and your enemy. Essentially, it's saying there's a hill in the way. You'd think that would be blocking terrain, but somebody would argue it doesn't look like a rock. A hex filled by smoke. Even your own hex or the target hex. This is one of those times with the word this game doesn't use the word intervening. It's mostly implied, but where intervening doesn't matter, it matters also what you are in.
Sure.
3 hexes of forest or 1 hex of foliage, not counting your hex nor the target's hex. So again,
not counting. Got it. Okay.
So that goes back to what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
You can see that one
does,
pass,
but it doesn't fix it. It's still broken. But okay.
A number of hexes in excess of the visibility limit due to darkness or weather. So if you've got that dense fog rain or cloudy night rain, you're not seeing past 5 hexes no matter what. If none of the above apply, you have line of sight, unless your target is in full cover. Remember, it didn't cover barriers, in which case your line of sight is also blocked. So if somebody's hiding behind a barrier. Now, once again, if you're playing without hexes, guess who has the final say?
Referee.
There you go.
Woo.
Ambush. Are we really covering ambush? When do I stop this chapter? What page are we on?
Stop it now.
Oh, so
Same as surprise, then you can stop it now. We already went through surprise.
No, we've ambush is the last thing we're covering.
Okay.
The key to winning a conflict is often attacking when your enemy least expect it. When you stalk someone, attack them unawares, it's called an ambush. First, make an opposed recon roll against your target, modified by any relevant terrain, modifying your roll, and darkness, modifying your target's roll. If you also get a modifier to your roll depending on how close you want to get. If I'm trying to sneak up right behind Heathen Dog, breathing on his neck, I am going to get a penalty. If I'm trying to stay across the street in my neighbor's house and shoot him, probably get a bonus. If you want to ambush in close combat, you need to move into the same hex as your target. Obviously, if you want to garrote him, you've got to be next to him. If you fail, your target spots you at your starting distance. Draw initiative. And I've had people complain about this with the Free League stuff. Starting distance is dumb. That means you can take one step and you screw up. The reason it's starting distance is because other than that, people would complain about what's half, what's this? Did I make it to this wall? You know what? You failed your roll. You screwed up. You're back at your starting distance. Roll initiative. That just makes the game easier. If you succeed, you automatically get the number 1 initiative card. You number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number Hana. An ambush in the same hex as a target gets a +3 modifier. Remember, 2d12 is the max. Also, your target cannot block an ambush attack. So
so it reacts like a surprise attack, and you get a +3 modifier to your action.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Group ambushes. Ambushes can be carried out by a group and against a group of targets. This follows the usual rules for stealth. Now, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this every Heathen. That's probably everything. I'm doing this every time. Well, let's read this. The person with the lowest recon skill rolls for the attackers. While the target with
the worst guy in your party, because he's the guy who's going to step on a stick or some nonsense. Yep. So that's what you roll.
He's the one that sneezes.
Yeah, he's the one that sneezes inappropriately. And let me guess, it's the best guy in the ambushed party, because only one guy has to realize the ambush is happening, and it's probably going to be the best guy.
Correct.
Awesome.
So, skipping all that, if you succeed, you get all of the top initiative cards. So, Heathen Dog is in a group of 4 people, because, these games like small groups. His group gets numbers 1 through 4.
Yep.
My group that got ambushed starts with number 5. We don't even get a chance for 1 through 4.
No.
If there are 4 attackers, you cards 1 through 4. You can distribute them as you see fit. So the group can be like, hey, you should get number 1.
Choose our initiative 1 through 4. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. The targets draw initiative from amongst the remaining cards. Doesn't say that they get to choose anything.
No, they don't get to choose nothing.
Waylaying. If you lie in wait for an enemy to attack them as they pass, roll recon to set up the ambush. This is a slow action. If you spend a stretch, so that's 5 to 10 minutes or more to set up, you get a +2 modifier. Basically, you're throwing leaves over yourself or something. If you spend a shift or more, you get a +3.
Digging yourself a hole and creating a cover for the hole and putting leaves and stuff on top of the cover so you can jump out like a trapdoor spider. Yeah, that's going to be like 6 hours.
You can push the roll as normal. Record the number of successes in your roll. When the target comes within visual range, they must make a passive and unmodified recon roll to spot you. This still counts as an opposed roll, meaning you need to have more successes than the target to remain hidden. If you fail your initial roll to set up the ambush, you must find another spot to place your ambush.
Okay, see, no, I don't like this either. If you fail your to set up your ambush, I would think that you think you did fine, but something is completely visible that you didn't catch. So when people walk by, they will instantly see you.
I actually agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I would require some sort of role playing to say, hey, we hidden? No, dude, I see your stupid little cone hat popping out, or something. I don't know.
You know what? How do you know you failed until it fails? I mean, sometimes it's just not obvious to you from your perspective that your ambush setup sucks.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But again, we're talking generic war game here. And since Free League doesn't allow you to redo things just as you are, that's why it says you got to find
go to another spot.
Yeah. Or the target will automatically spot you when he comes within visual range. Vehicles, you can never ambush someone from a moving vehicle. What if it's an electric? What if it's an EV?
Just wondering. If it's an electric vehicle and it's not making a lot of noise, I don't know, man. I don't know. They act. Hey, you know what? They actually put vroom vroom noises on some electric vehicles so blind people aren't hit all the time. That tells me you can sneak up on someone in an electric vehicle if they're not looking.
What if I'm ambushing from a B-52?
From high up in the air? No, they'll hear it. If you're ambushing from a glider or a drone from high enough, yes. I would say that.
I don't know. I've heard bullshit. A-10 surprise people until that cannon starts going off.
Cannon goes off. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
glider, yeah, definitely.
You can, however, use a stationary vehicle when waylaying enemies if you spend at least a stretch setting it up. So you can make it look like it's damaged on the side of the road, whatever. Just watch The Walking Dead. All right, so ambushing, here are the modifiers. You're trying to be in the same hex, you're going to be at -2. That's a pretty big penalty. Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to sneak up right behind.
Yeah, you see all these movies with these assassins sneaking up behind people and slitting their throats. Dude, I mean, even young people in their 20s, sometimes when you walk, a creak or a crack happens. That's all that takes.
Something out of the ordinary, yep.
Yeah, and you're done.
So if you're 1 hex away, so 10 meters, it's -1. 2 to 5 hexes, 0. 6 to 20 hexes, +1. You start getting a bonus there, and you're still within probably rifle range. So it's 60 meters. Sure. Yeah. And actually for a rifle team, this is probably the best bet, right?
Yep.
And then 21 or more hexes, so 210 meters or more,
yeah.
+2. And there we go. We already did social conflict. So that's everything in terms of terrain and movement right here. I will say that the weakness of this book, where BattleTech, so we're doing close combat next week, that I think a game like BattleTech and Heavy Gear both do better, is I think they describe some of the combat better. And I'm wondering if it's because this book wants to remain thin. And when you're doing a war game, thin is not your friend. Better explanations are your friend. Yeah. I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out what the comments are like when the folks make comments to the video and tell me that I'm stupid for how I counted hexes, or Heathen Dog stupid for how he counted the hexes, or at least better yet, let's not even go that route. Let's say clarifying the stuff, because Heathen Dog still doesn't get it. I think I do, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So what do we have for chat? I know there's a few in there.
No, nothing. I put up a couple during, and that was pretty much it.
There are a couple I do want to address. Okay. I think this visibility isn't just spotting a person, but vehicles. That is true.
Yeah, but if it includes a person, then it has to include both, or you have separate rules for both people and vehicles, and they don't. So sorry.
I can tell you that people silhouette themselves all the time when they're walking in the dark. Like, oh, it's really dark outside. And you can see, I mean, it's just a silhouette, but that's still spotted. I don't know it's Heathen Dog, but I know it's somebody out there. Is it friend? Is it foe? I don't know. But and you can spot it pretty far range if somebody isn't paying attention to silhouetting rules. I know we were taught a lot about silhouetting rules, and then you have to give up the high ground. Like, now you're on the low ground and somebody else got the high ground. They see you, like, uh-oh, you're screwed. But there's a lot of stuff. And like I said, I wish a Nerds Nerd was still watching, because I know she's done a lot more of that nonsense than I ever did. I was exercised, she was there. But in terms of actually, we'll just call it covering concealment silhouette rules. I thought there was one more. Nope, I thought there was one more I wanted to put. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I caught it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, cool. I rolled. I got so lucky. I maxed out both my dice. I got 4 successes. It was very unlikely he was going to properly oppose me. Very unlikely.
I actually couldn't fully oppose you with 2 8s. Yeah. The most I could get were 2 successes.
Yeah. The most he could do was still lose. So,
all right, please. Instead of downvoting the video because you don't like how I said something or Heathen Dog reacted to something, put in the comments how it should how it should be. Let us know. I mean, in some regard, I've never played this game. I will be playing this game in 5-6 days. Well, Friday this upcoming week. So the day after this video pops, I will be playing the game. And so we'll find out how he runs it and what I learned from that experience. So next week, I'll probably talk about, hey, this is what I learned from playing Twilight 2000. But let us know if we made any mistakes. Else, next week, the 2 videos are going to be, the first one is going to be close combat, and the second one is going to be ranged combat. Guess which section is longer?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
It's ranged combat.
Okay.
Yeah, close combat looks like it's 1.5 pages, and ranged combat looks like it's 4 pages. So, so there we go. So I look forward to talking to you all about close and ranged combat next week.